what's up? Posted on a Friday night. It's almost 7 p.m. We are coming up on Sabbath Keepers time. So what time is it? Yeah. 6:52. It's going to be sundown. It's 6:50 p.m. right now. So I'm trying to see if I can get a car wash. Because the other day my car got pooped on a lot. Because I spent multiple hours parked underneath a tree where the birds just, were having some issues with their... well, they weren't having issues. I was having issues with them. But I guess they were just doing their nature. But their nature landed on me. So I gotta go clean off my car just to make one less errand the next time I do officially want to go out, because I will not go out with poop. So I've got to clean my car, and then I'm also going to get gas because it's a Shell station, so I'm hoping that's what I'm gonna do. But I'm kind of in a debate, guys. I've got a lot of stories that I've been working on, and some of them, I don't know, they get to a level sometimes where I'm like, this is like a whole other kind of content. But it's very gay, and I think it's like, okay, I guess my debate with it all is that I find it hard to post on just like casual spaces because I think people would be offended by it. People already get kind of offended by podcast content, as I found out when I was uploading things to YouTube. I think Spotify for podcasters is actually much more open-minded. I didn't really think about that, but through first-hand experience now, I have discovered that it's much easier to get banned on YouTube than it is on Spotify, at least in my personal experience. So, and I don't really know if that's full accuracy, but that's kind of how it's seeming. Based on some stuff that's recently happened with me getting a whole account on YouTube deleted, and when I uploaded this content, some of it got flagged. You get a few warnings, and so I'm under like the first warning, so I still get a few more, but I'm like, let me not take my chances, because even though it might not seem like it, I'm driving around town a lot when I'm posting, or I'm like half asleep in the morning, or like not, like, I don't know, when I'm posting, especially lately, I have not had any real direction or purpose for posting other than that I'm free enough to post, and I don't even really have topics really, but as you guys have very well noticed, I'm just like posting like for no good reason sometimes. Not a lot of focus, not a lot of intention. Just, I don't want to leave things kind of high and dry and just be like quit on things, but I also don't really have topics that are like in depth, I'm reading some books, but none of the books I'm reading have any relevance to this podcast whatsoever. Finished one about kind of like an apocalyptic Amish themed book. It was like a sci-fi, but basically like the Amish were doing well because the world was failing, and all the electrical systems and everything were kind of like not functioning, so people couldn't use banks and all that kind of stuff. So people were freaking out, obviously, and this, it was staged in Pennsylvania. Things just weren't going well for people in this book. other than the Amish, they seem to be doing better than the others. So, because they're self-sufficient, at least the self-sufficient Amish. But I guess I don't know, whatever. I'm reading another book, staged in Japan. Now, I don't think it's got any homosexual content, and any of the sexual content that is kind of alluded to in that book is very subtle. Like, the terminology is like, I forgot, it was like I guess something negative happened to the guy, and there's, I don't know, there's stuff in there that, I don't know, I don't know how to say it, but like, there were terms that suggested that something went wrong, but the term used wasn't something like abuse or the specific wording of what happened. It was just like a term that was very vague, like something equivalent to the word bothered or something like that. Like, it was kind of like, I don't even know what happened. Like, I didn't want gory details because I appreciate that it didn't go into gory details, but there was just like a vague term that just like, you know, the reader assumes, oh, this guy had something go on, and to what extent we don't know. And, you know, I mean, it made it into the story, and that's all we really know. But I mean, I don't know. Those types of books, you know, they don't even really have any context of sexuality in them. It's just like random, just like nothing happening, no juice, no nada, just boring. All right, there's somebody in the car wash. Oh my god, sorry, I gotta back up. Please pay inside. I hate these pay inside things. I want to fill my tank like completely full and not talk to anybody. Like, can't I do that? No, I guess I can't. Here, I'll use this pump. At least this other pump will let me do what I want to do. Alright. Oh, I think I'm going to be first in line for the car wash if I don't take too long. Alright, spent like $23 on gas. That's 5 gallons. That's with the discount because of the car wash. $8 car wash. The most expensive one is $12. The medium is $10. I feel like it used to be cheaper, but I don't really remember, honestly. That's better than what I would do for myself as far as like washing the car at home. So I'll just do this because I do need it. Like, there's poop everywhere, so I can't just not wash my car. Okay, gotta put in the code. Just start over. Man. Enter code. Oh, it's $31.80. Okay. 529. Grant receipt. My mom does this app, and I give her receipts if I can remember. So now I've got a CVS receipt that has some melatonin and that yerba mate on there. And in addition to that receipt, I've got in addition to the receipt, I've got this gas station and the car wash receipt. So yeah, well, it's gonna get too loud, so I'm gonna stop recording at the moment. I thought I was gonna have more time between things, which is why I kept pressing record. I didn't think the drive to the car wash was gonna be so quick, and I didn't think it was gonna be so quick getting the gas and getting into the car wash. So, but I am headed to a place to record. trying to give these guys a couple minutes. I try not to like rush people. They paid for their car wash and they probably want the dry to not have me in the back getting their car all messed up with my car wash. It's a big truck in front of me. Pickup. Chevrolet? I can't see what it says. There's a weird glare. Alright, I shall be back. Alrighty, well I'm gonna take the car for a little spin here. Go for a little drive to get to the spot where I'm gonna record. But it's gonna take a second. Cause I'm at one of those lights where I can't turn left with the divider in the middle of the road. So now I've gotta make some weird turns. But I shall talk while driving. So yeah. Do I need to fill you guys in about my week? I mean, I've been taking an easy week even though it wasn't easy. So I'm good at doing that. I'm good at like screwing up an easy time. Not in a bad way. That sounded bad, but I mean, I make things harder on myself than they need to be sometimes. I was definitely doing that. I don't know. I've had a little a bit of a challenge trying to take it easy. I really don't like to veg out and sit around and like watch stuff all day. I mean, I kind of do, but it's hard for me to do that past 1 or 2 days. And I'm really trying not to spend a lot of money, even though I am kind of spending. It was my family member's birthday and some other stuff that I just, I was just buying stuff, not like excessively, I don't think, but groceries and food mostly. And, I was like, I did have a little splurge on some stuff, but my version of splurging is like, getting a car wash or like ordering like Uber Eats or something like that. Like it's not that much. Like my splurges rarely run me like 30, 40 bucks. Like I'm really cheap as it is. So I don't know. But yeah, I guess in a way I've been a little bit uninspired, but it's kind of because, my life has been pretty isolated. I don't really like to post about people. About, other people. I don't like to post and be like, oh, like I was with this friend and they said this, or like that person and they said that, like, I mean, I'll do it when it's something worth talking about, I guess. I try not to do it just out of like irritation. I'm not saying I've never done that out of irritation, but I've tried to like, when I have posted in that way, I've tried to take that stuff down because I really don't want other people up in my business. And it's also just not too, I don't know. It's very one-sided, It would be more interesting to have a conversation. I mean, I don't know if I'd ever do that. That sounds extreme and like something I would never want to do. But if there was some kind of disagreement, for example, I would rather have a conversation about it. If it was going to need to be online, I'd rather just like talk to the person. And like if you ever saw The Chi, that series, The Chi, when Papa does his podcast and he calls it Papa's Pulpit, and then he has like his friends on there kind of like that are in the process of this kind of beef, and he's like trying to like be the middleman or whatever, because it can be hard when you've got like a friendship of like a trio and people aren't getting along. And of course, yes, okay, so here comes the street where I'm trying to park and all the lights are like strobing. Why are the street lights strobing like that? It's freaking weird. I don't want to park where the lights are like freaking out and flickering all over the place. There's the usual car that I see. My homies are here. I don't know these people at all. I recognize their cars, and I hope to never know them. I don't want to talk to them. I'm not trying to like meet people. Just trying to find a place to park where there aren't a lot of trees to get pooped, and where there's nobody else parked, and where it doesn't seem like anybody's working, because I don't want to talk to anybody or have anybody try to talk to me. I don't want any interactions of any kind with anybody. So, oh my goodness. I'll park in front of this RV. They're probably used to seeing me all the time anyways. Okay, this tree looks bare and like it has no birds. I'm just gonna park here. I don't think I'll get pooped on. Okay. So, the reason why I'm out recording tonight is because I don't want to stay in and I don't want to go out. So, here I am. Yeah, I don't want to spend any money going out. I'm doing that next weekend. And so, yeah, for that reason, I'm just kind of wanting to be a little productive, but didn't really have anything to be productive with. So I decided to drink caffeine at night, which is going to keep me up all night. But I figured my sleep has been bad all week, so why not add one extra bad sleep night? And this yerba mate is delicious. It's Revelberry. It's the can. But I hadn't had one in a while and I wanted one. But yeah, it's been kind of stale. Like, I just haven't been living my life like I normally do. I've really been shaking things up, and it's a challenge, you know? Not a bad challenge. It's taking some time for me to settle into what I want to do and how I want things to look. I mean, creative processes, you know, when there's no script, you know, of how to do things, it's hard to kind of really navigate, but there are things I'm seeing. And so scripts as far as, you know, I'm noticing a lot of podcasts, you know, there's podcast production companies now that basically I don't know what the word is, but they host podcasters. They give them a space to rent out and to schedule, and they can collab with one another because there's kind of a network. And then they, like, so places like HeadGum, and there's other people who kind of brand themselves. There's some podcasters I follow that, you know, like, I think Chosen Family podcast, they use Forever Dog. What was the one I just said? HeadGum. I mean, there are a lot of them. You see them all over the place now. This was not a thing even a year ago. Was it really even a thing? I mean, there were spaces like Spotify, but it was like, you know, Spotify's been around doing their own thing, and they just happened to add like podcasting. But man, in the social media world, I'm really noticing a lot of change. You know, I don't get out every single day all the time, or when I do, I'm kind of like doing particular stuff, and I'm not like really that adventurous sometimes. So things I've been noticing, like gas stations, or you know, when there's a screen and they're just like I mean, this has been going on, but when they have the stupid commercials and you're like, I just want to like chill and like pump my gas and not listen to like the news or the weather or whatever. And it's like, I think that is overkill. It's like, bro, I am like in a very prime spot to be forgetting my stuff. You know, how many people do you think like forget their keys or their wallet or their gas cap or like whatever it may be, just because they're distracted by the multitasking from the television monitor and the talking on the thing, you know, while you're trying to like pump your gas. It's like people are going to forget their cards or like lock their keys in the car. I feel like it just creates more space to like, you know, not be too tuned into what you're trying to do. Like, even, okay, I just went and got a car wash at a Shell station. It didn't have the TVs that talk, but it has some rewards things on there. And then it's like, if you're at the car wash, you know, now instead of just putting in the receipt from the pump, that code that you already paid for, or putting in the money, like there's a whole process of like 7-Eleven rewards something. I don't even know. It's like everywhere's trying to get you into their reward subscriptions. You know, when you pay at CVS, I was literally cracking up, like laughing out loud in the store. When you purchase something from CVS, I don't know if all CVS's are this way, but the one where I go has these long receipts. It's like over a foot long. I gotta see how long this thing really is. It's long. It's like I have to fold it multiple times to cram it into my wallet. This thing is like, that's not even the right receipt. These are my other receipts. Let's see. Dude, this thing is like, if I'm holding it at the tip of my fingers, my arm completely stretched out, it's the length of my whole arm up to my collar. Okay? And I bought 2 things. I got a drink and a little container of melatonin. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 discount receipts on there. Of course, most of the discounts pertain to something you just purchased, you know, so it's like, well, it would have been nice to have that discount, you know, and then it's like, buy 2, get 1, whatever % off, so it's like, okay, and within like a week or 2, so it's kind of useless receipts, unless you're really gonna go bulk shopping or something, and you're like, oh, I bought a container of melatonin, let me go back and get 2 more. You know, I mean, it is technically a discount because you're getting the discount up front. And if it's something that you're going to be buying all the time, like tampons or something, and they're giving you a discount, it's like, might as well buy them. But it's like, I only came in here for like 1 thing, you know, I wasn't trying to buy like 3 so I could get 1 free or whatever. And it's like, but it technically, I guess it isn't a worthless discount. You kind of would have to just plan around it and just be like, oh, I got this receipt now. But I don't think you can use it again same day. I don't know. I'd have to read it again. But it's like you have to go back. But literally, I was laughing out loud because the stupid machine says, you know, it's like, don't forget your receipt. And I'm thinking like, this thing's been printing for so long. It's like the only thing on my mind right now. You might as well say don't forget your items at this point. Because like I'm waiting for this stupid receipt while my items are sitting there on the little like weight thing. The little scale where they make sure you're not like stealing things or taking too many at once or whatever. Like my items that I had scanned were sitting there waiting, so I don't know. But yeah, like even like gas stations, car washes, you know, whenever you're swiping your card somewhere and then there's all these like questions, you know, I'm used to like cash back or whatever, or is it debit or credit or whatever, and putting your PIN or putting your zip code or whatever, but I'm not used to the whole, you know, the whole problem of, you know, having all these different things that you have to do. It's like, I just came here to buy this thing and pay for this thing. I'm not trying to get pitched some other thing or some other thing. I don't know. It's like, it's getting annoying. And I've noticed so many apps are just, I don't know, I'm easily annoyed because I feel like it's hard for me to focus. Like I went on LinkedIn today. I think it was today or yesterday. I think it was today. Um I went on LinkedIn, maybe it was yesterday, and it basically had like video content, like it had like all kind of content in a way that was not there before. Um like it's had that, like people can post video clips and all that, but it's got this change to it that's more some different like social media esque, user interface to it that really just makes it kind of weird. Um to me it's a little bit weird. And so I didn't really know what to, I didn't really look at it too much, but I think I'd gone on there. I don't know if it was that app or some other app that I'd gone on for like a specific reason, and there was so much happening that it was like I forgot why I even came on here. Like, and I can't tell you how often that happens. It's like some apps I have to intentionally be like, okay, I'm searching for like stretching videos or whatever, and then it's like, so I don't get distracted from whatever I came to search. Maybe it was X, it was like Twitter X or something like that, and I went to, I don't know, like there was something I went on that it was just like, I don't know, it took me to some homepage where it's like more about politics and stuff. I'm like, I'm pretty sure this isn't what I came here for, and now I'm like tempted to read it, which I don't want to do, and it's like I came here for some completely different reason that I couldn't remember because I got bombarded all of a sudden with so many things that had like nothing to do with what I was on there for. And it's just like trying to get your attention like immediately, like so immediately. And I'm over here like I'm in the slow down lane. I'm in the lane that's like I still just want to chill. I'm not trying to keep up with all this. I'm like, look, if it were up to me, I'd still be using cassette tapes, okay? Like, it's just, the free reach of podcasting and things like that, it's just a little bit easier. But I'm very, like, I like tactile, but I don't mind digital because there's a convenience to it. But I do like tactile. But I just don't like having a lot of stuff, But there's, I've been doing a lot of creative writing, and I'm gonna put some timestamps slightly on here for you guys, just because I am just rambling. I'm rambling. I'm having a rambling day. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I'm gonna put Friday. And so at the 17th minute is when I started rambling. And then social media and ads, I guess. And then at the 18 minute or 28 minute is where, I don't know. So, oh man. I'm just trying to basically figure out what I'm doing on here. Because like I said before, I'm big into projects. I just don't like to quit things. But I also am not really trying to make things look just like everybody else. Not that it's bad what everybody else is doing. It's just I don't want to host a talk show where I'm like interviewing people. I mean, I wouldn't mind. That would be fun. But it's like I really am not that much trying to like reach out to people and trying to get other people collaborating too much. Not like that. Like not in a hey, let's sit down in a living room looking setting. I mean, I already have like nowhere to record that I'm comfortable with, and there's already that. But um I don't know. Like I'm a little bit conflicted cuz it's like I know what is popular right now, but it's like, I'm a little guy, I'm just here just chilling posting about my own creative hobbies and interests, and if people are interested in tuning in, then so be it. I appreciate that. I hope you're having fun. I am trying not to post like super downer content. I don't know if it's noticeable because I think I just vent and ramble and rant about things, but you know, I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one that's like irritated. And I think, okay, one thing is, I do notice people, a lot of people, myself included, not just me, but a lot of people I know have been experiencing a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression. I'm not saying that that is something to take light, but I do think that there's something about these smartphones that is really creating a lot of that anxiety. Like, I've heard, for example, multiple times that it wasn't just from a couple clients when I was working on a certain site. I heard multiple times people say that when they're in the hospitals, there's nursing staff or like some other staff that are like on their phones a lot and stuff. And I go on Instagram, and you can see who's on there. And I know people go on there during work. And, if I have days when I'm off, sometimes I'll be on there for a really long time. And I'm like, oh, all these people who are supposed to be working today are just like online a lot. Like, they're on Instagram a lot. I'm not judging my friends being on Instagram. It's like, I do too. But it's like, it's kind of funny. I'm like, well, if I know, if it's the people that I know doing it, it's probably everybody doing it too. And so it is kind of a funny thing that it's like, people are in the middle of their shifts and they're just like online and we're all chatting and it's like, it's fun, but it's like, okay, it's not lunch break, it's not another kind of break. It's like, and I've heard people complain about different professional settings where they're like, oh, like the staff are on their phones or whatever. And, it's just, I'm not saying it's bad. It's just, it is not helpful for the human brain, I don't think. Like, I don't know to what extent, but I know I have withdrawals. If I turn off my phone and put it in my drawer across the room, and I do that on occasion, and I'm like, whoa, like, I don't like the way that feels. Like, I'm not a fan of that, I don't like the way that feels. I'm like, this doesn't feel good. It's like, okay, like, but it's a purposeful decision and I can just go and get it, But I do, and I even think about comedy shows, how they're like, people have to lock their phone away or whatever. And I saw something probably on Instagram where it was like a no smartphone cafe kind of thing where you lock away your phone. And they give you it's like a little locker key kind of thing, or some kind of code, or some kind of thing where they give you like a number to come back and retrieve your stuff. And I'm like, wow, how weird would that be? And the last time I went to a doctor's appointment, I was waiting in the lobby and I took a book with me. And I'm just looking around and everybody's kind of like on their phones. And most of the time, I brought a book with me because a lot of times at these doctor's offices, I've realized, and especially if they put me in the basement or something, like, or even not in the basement, like, there are a lot of places where my phone doesn't work, and I'm just like, and a lot of times they have the TV on in the lobby, and it's on the news or something, and I don't want to hear that, so I'm usually like, oh, I wish I brought my phone and, like, had my headphones. Well, I usually have my phone, but I usually don't always have my headphones, and I'm like, oh, I wish I had my headphones. And I've also seen my parents go from, like, people who don't even hardly know where their phones are half the time to, like, in the middle of like dinner and stuff, they're literally checking their messages and like talking about social media and like sending me stuff at like 2 a.m. That's like, I don't know what, my parents send me like the weirdest stuff that I'm like, I don't know why they're sending, like, it has no relevance to anything I'm interested in. But I'm honest when people are like, oh, did you watch the thing I sent you? I'm kind of like, nah, I kind of don't watch that. Like, I respond to messages, but even with my friends who kind of just only send memes and stuff, I'm just kind of like, I'm not really into it. I'm trying to get into it a little bit, but I'm like, dude, I just want to talk to people. I don't want to send you a little clip of some other thing that I thought was funny. Like, how was your day? How are you? What's going on? Like, and there's some people that I share little things with, but I'm in a group with some friends that, we go to raves and stuff, and you know, I usually just send a message, I'm like, I'm not gonna, like, I don't know, we kind of only send like musical content for the most part. It's like anything that's kind of funny, musical, dancing, like some cool, like, how people have those like dances and stuff, and like, or some cool like DJ clips and stuff, or like some cool like festival clips of things, like with the drone footage and stuff. Like, we send that kind of stuff to each other. But then otherwise, like, usually I'll just be like, hey, like, I'm really looking forward to like this upcoming thing or whatever, and we're kind of like talking about that, you know. Like, my friend saw Coldplay in, I think it was Dublin. I don't remember where it was, but I think they saw Coldplay in Dublin, and I was kind of like, oh, it's awesome. Like, like, how is that and everything? And like, I'd rather just chat. Like, I'm not, I don't know. I'm not really into the whole meme thing, memes and GIFs and all that. I mean, I like them, but I don't only want to send that to people. Like, usually when people only send me that, I just don't respond that much. Like, I see it, and if it looks interesting, I might click it. And if it doesn't look interesting, I just don't watch it. I mean, like, I don't know. Like, I don't really want to talk to people about what they watch on social media. And unless we're kind of in person, then I might, but I don't know. It's kind of a struggle for me lately. I'm kind of trapped between like these different worlds. And I do really, I can't believe I'm going to say this. um, I am happy. I'm happy that I grew up in a culture on the religious end. I'm not saying people need to follow it, or that I need to follow it, or that it was healthy fully, but a culture that does try to appreciate and tend to lifestyle balance, and part of that lifestyle balance being the Sabbath, which was a restful day. And when I was growing up, we were kind of challenged more so to avoid the television, secular stuff, kind of convene with nature, socialize, interact. I mean, maybe it was churchy interacting and socializing, but we would go for hikes or go to the beach after church and like have potlucks and socialize, or just hang out all till late hours, and just hang around. Like, everybody just chit chat and like hang around and go back for seconds, or go back for like dessert like an hour later. Like, there was a church service I used to go to that would start at like 3 or something. It would always start late, but somewhere in the 3 o'clock hour it would start, and then it would go till maybe like 5, so it was like dinner time. But because Sabbath ends when the sun goes down on Saturdays, we would usually hang out till Sabbath would end, so that the people who participated in the Sabbath activities pretty hardcore would be allowed to like actually be comfortable to like go out and like walk around and like go do stuff and start spending money, or like go do things. So we go get boba, or like what, like it was simple stuff like snacks, tea houses, like coffee shops, maybe like go walk at one of the beaches, boardwalks, and like see what's what. Like, we didn't really go to bars and clubs and stuff, but it was pretty wholesome. I don't know. That's not what I was trying to say that I appreciated, though. I liked that it was wholesome, but I also had another party side of me that I was like, I got an itch I got to scratch over here. Like, y'all just aren't doing it for me. But I mean, I actually appreciated that it was, people that were trying, there wasn't ever really the drunken drama, or like who got lost, who lost their phone, where's this person's wallet, this person's vomiting all over, we're about to get kicked out because these people are fighting. There was not that kind of thing. It was other stuff. It was more like stuffy, where it's like, oh, we can't actually talk about what's going on because it's it's considered inappropriate conversation or whatever. So there wasn't really like, there was authenticity, but it was like limited authenticity. But I did appreciate that we spent a lot of time connecting, but it was very I don't want to say it was superficial, because that's not accurate. Reserved. It was very reserved. I didn't like that too much, because I'm a little bit, I'm not fully a loose cannon, but I kind of like to say what's on my mind, more so than what what would be culturally appropriate for that group. I don't know. It wasn't fully healthy. It definitely wasn't, which is why I don't really opt into a lot of that stuff anymore. But I mean, the healthy part of it was the disconnect from everything. And this was, I've explained this before, but this was like pre Facebook being super popular, like it was back when like people had family desktops. Not everybody had a laptop, and if they did, it was like they're college students. They probably don't live at home, or they're in the dorm, or they're using it to study. Like there wasn't really that like heavy YouTube usage or Facebook might have been, it was kind of back in the MySpace days. That might have been the only thing that people were like a little obsessed with when it came to when social media started coming up. And then in church, people would sometimes have their BlackBerry phones. Like people who had like Blackberries or Razors, who you could check like the internet to check sports scores, or you could like check your emails or whatever. But it wasn't like, I mean, it would cost you money to do any of that kind of stuff. And then also it was like, so it wasn't free to check, and it wasn't free to send stuff. It was actually, I think it was super pricey. I don't remember how it used to work with phones and stuff. But I do remember with cell phones, it used to cost a whole lot of money, because I remember I used to talk on my phone a lot. And my dad's like, this is costing us a fortune. Just either text or, you know, talk on the house phone. But he said it was costing a lot. And so, you know, I kind of had some trouble with that for a while. But yeah, because I used to stay on the phone for like hours with my friends, like my local friends. We used to just be on the phone for hours on end. And, yeah, we couldn't really do that with cell phones, because it would cost you a whole lot of money. And so this was like back in this time period where it was like before the plans were like cheaper than anything. Like before things got like affordable and like high usage. Like it was back when people still might not have even had a cell phone, and if they did, it was a flip phone and it didn't really do much. And then maybe Sidekicks, Blackberries, Razors, they were kind of popular, but it's like they weren't such a distraction that people were like constantly on them. They were, but not like it is now. Your whole life wasn't like on it. Maybe it was if you were like busy, but people still have Palm Pilots and things like that. And you know, laptops were still pretty bulky, and like they didn't have super thin, lightweight, fast, you know, laptops, and there wasn't really Wi-Fi all over the place either. So it's like, it was kind of another time period too, where it was just easier to like do stuff, because nobody had other things holding them from like, you know, other than like a sports event that they wanted to like watch on TV, or like plans that they actually had out in the wild, or like something like that. Like people didn't really have stuff to do. So it was easier to make plans with people. People weren't just like, I'm already home fully entertained and I don't want to go out of my way to get dressed and spend money and go drive all the way up to Hollywood and like hang out and like, you know, figure that whole thing out. Like nobody was really concerned, you know, about doing those things. Like people were like always willing to go out and like do stuff. So I spent a lot of my time in my 20s or so. Honestly, I was out a lot. Like, and I had a lot of friends locally. I still do. I mean, it's kind of weird. A lot of those people I grew up with, we're still friends. We still know each other. We're still connected, but it's because we were all a part of this church. And it's really hard to explain, because when I say church, it's not like one building with like one pastor and like we all went there. It was like a network of local churches and local schools. It was like anywhere within a drivable distance in certain places in LA, there was a network of churches. There were a couple in San Pedro. There was like a Spanish speaking church in San Pedro. There was a what is now Serbian Croatian church, but it was Yugoslavian. That's what it was called back then. It was there was like a black church in like the South Central area. There were like 3 black churches, but I think I only learned about 2 of them from someone else. And they were really low key. There's like one bigger black church, and then there was Hollywood. There were the ones like in the South Bay region. There used to be one, I think, in Hawthorne that was like, it had like a lot of Samoans, a lot of like Pacific Islanders went there. I think it closed and merged with some other place. There was like Redondo. I don't know, there were so many churches. I'm definitely leaving out a lot of them. But between the people I went to school with, the people who went to other churches, who mingled with the parents of the school, you know, we all went to different churches, you know, but they were my social connections because my parents were like, well, they go to your school and I know their parents and they go to this church or that church or that church. So I was allowed to hang out with them. I was allowed to just, you know, meet up at the mall, or like we'd all take the bus to certain places. And even if with the kids that didn't really go to church, you know, it's like, well, they went to the school that was connected to the church. So my parents weren't so out of the loop. Like, they had ability to contact people's parents and stuff like that. And so they weren't so, like, I wasn't just, like, rogue, just, like, wandering all over town meeting strangers and stuff. But, like, it was mostly me and my brother, too. And we're only 2 years apart. And so we would, you know, it's not like I was by myself. And we would take the bus around to Venice, to Santa Monica, to different places, you know, and we just hang out, you know, with other people we meet up with and stuff. And like, you know, sometimes we get up to stuff we probably shouldn't have, but I mean, that's just teenage and 20s, you know, you're experimenting with a lot of things, and I definitely did a lot of that. But I mean, overall, it wasn't like, I wasn't getting into too much, you know, not too many shenanigans, but, yeah, it was, I don't know, like, I'm glad I had that experience. There's some experiences that I could have gone without, but I mean, yeah, I mean, like, when I'm looking at that, I'm like, it was so nice to just have people to chill with regularly, and it was like effortless, and it was like, if these people are busy, I'll call these people. If they're busy, I'll call them. If they're busy, I'll call them. You know, and eventually you bump into somebody who's free and wants to like do something, and you kind of just get together and start doing stuff. And there was a lot of networking too, like, you know, I'd often meet other people who were doing other things. Who were doing things that, like, maybe I didn't know. And I'd meet people through sports, and I'd meet people through all kinds of, like, hangouts and stuff. Like, you know, I talked about this one guy that I used to take to, like, school. You know, the ones where we're trying to, like, not date people, but the ones where you, like, invite a date. There was this one guy from the Spanish church that I would invite. I knew him through soccer, but he never went to school or church with me. But his friends from that church went to school with me, and I met him through them, and they played soccer as well. So, you know, I got really close with him and some other people. There were a lot of people I met that were just through networking, and, you know, that was my jam, you know? Like, LA, that's what LA was to me. Like, when I was growing up out here, it was like, easy to meet people, easy to hang out, easy to just, like, have fun. You get people's numbers when they're interesting, or their email or whatever it may be, to be in connection, and you just hit them up, and people were available, and you could go do stuff with them. Like, It was simple. But we also had this like Sabbath time where back then people weren't really there. But basically, it was like no TV, no radio. As far as secular stuff, you could watch like TBN, which was what, like Trinity Broadcasting Network, whatever that church channel was, or you could watch like nature channels, like National Geographic and all that. I don't know what else was on TV back then. I don't think you were really supposed to be watching sports. You could kind of play sports, but you weren't really supposed to be doing anything work related, or competitive. So you could probably like toss a ball around or something, but you couldn't play football. Or you could just like, you know, play around and stuff, but you couldn't like do like drills and like improve like your skills, or like, you know, go to the gym and like work out and like hit your numbers and stuff. It wasn't like anything where you're like being productive and meeting demands was kind of like you weren't really supposed to, like, it wasn't like, oh, you're gonna get like in trouble, but it was like I had friends that would get in trouble by their parents if they did stuff they weren't supposed to do, like buying things on the Sabbath, so you couldn't go to like 7-Eleven, or some people didn't even buy gas to get to church or back, you know. Like, I mean, you prepare in advance. So like Fridays, I had a lot of friends whose parents would like cook the meals that you would eat from between Friday sundown and Saturday sundown. They'd cook all their meals. And then they would yeah, they basically cook. And then that was kind of all they do. They just like cook their meals, and then you know, go to the church events and stuff. And to me that was really, I don't know, it's like a time forgotten, because once smartphones became popular and all the like online social media and all that became people's primary focus of like staying up to date and connected with people that way, and up to date on whatever's going on in the world that way, people seem to no longer want to tune in to each other or to what's going on, and they're like, I just want to pick this up and be entertained by these other things, which is fine, because I love that too. And I mean, I assume people like it if you're listening to podcasts like this and stuff. Like, I'm not trying to discourage people and be like, don't listen to anything and don't watch anything, because that's not realistic. But I do kind of practice a little bit of that lately. This isn't a good example, podcasting on a Friday night, but I mean, I do kind of practice a little bit of that, because I've noticed that I did benefit from it, and I kind of went back to a lot of methods of things that I knew worked for me when I was younger. And I was like, let me just revert back to some basics, like getting involved in music, being more physically active, going to concerts more. Like, we used to go to a lot of Christian concerts, but they were still concerts. Yeah, just the fact that back then being online so often and connected to a phone and all that wasn't really something that I did. Like, I was mostly like drawing and painting and playing guitar. That's pretty much what I did when I was home by myself, or write. I would do a lot of writing when I was younger. Just like journaling, writing stories. I think I mentioned, maybe I didn't mention, I found the story that I wrote back in like 2007. It's so embarrassing. I don't even know what, I can't read it because it's too much. It's too like, I'm like, oh, what is this? Like, it's weird. It's a weird story. I made up these characters. I literally wanted to make the cover art for these characters that I'd created. They were like manga art type faces of these two characters that I'd created, and I literally wrote a whole storyline because I wanted some place to put these characters. I think I drew it on like paintbrush or something, but I used to be pretty good with that kind of thing, and like drawing on the computer and stuff. Um, but yeah, I remember having those manga characters that I kind of was like into drawing on the computer and stuff, and then I was like, I want a scenario to put them in. So I wrote like a whole story, and I remember I gave it to people. That was my Christmas gift one year. It was like 30, 40 pages, maybe 50 pages. I don't know, like somewhere between 30 and 50 pages. And the story is so weird. It starts with like some email. It's like an email that gets sent between, it's like some top secret, like I don't even know, like it's not really top secret. It's from like it's like cult, it's like a cult kind of thing. It's kind of like a futuristic cult. It's like I don't know. I don't think anything bad happens, but it's basically like this cult leader, basically. It's not a cult leader like someone who's doing bad things. Like, it's just a cult leader who has this top secret mission for, like, one of the characters. And along the way, that character runs into the other character. But it starts out with this email of the cult leader being like, we're sending you on this mission. And, like, and there's kind of like this back and forth, like, who do I talk to? And then the character starts talking to the person that they're supposed to talk to via email. I literally created email addresses so I could screenshot the emails and put it as like, it was like, I was like, this is, I don't know. I might, I don't know. I might post it somewhere. It is a ridiculous story, but I was like, I got like 2 pages in and I was like, this is too much. Like, I can't believe I even wrote it. Like, it's so weird. It's not bad. It's just cringy. It's like, because I'm like, why did I write this? And I sent it to so many people. Like, it was a Christmas gift. And I used to make, like, there was a point where I used to make, like, mixed CDs for people. I would just mass produce things. And so I'd make, like, rip a DVD, like, some kind of, like, pirated, like, movie. And I'd, like, send it out to everybody. Like, on, like, you remember those DVD-R, or whatever, those burnable CDs. I used to have a DVD and CD burner, and some software. If it was protected, you could kind of, like, bypass that. And I used to get, like, free DVDs that I would borrow from the library, and I would just copy something interesting. Like, if it was, like, I found an interesting one that I know is kind of popular that people might like, but most people didn't have, like, a whole bunch of DVDs back then because they were expensive. And so I'd find something and I'd, like, send it out to people for Christmas. I'd, like, mail it to different family members all over the US and stuff. And, like, that story, oh man, it's just embarrassing the fact that I sent that to people. But I probably sent it to a whole bunch of people because I probably sent it out digitally. I know I printed it out for a lot of people. And I know I sent it out. It was unedited too. I remember I was like, this is an unedited story. And I wrote it over like 1 or 2 nights of just like drinking a lot of caffeine. I just stayed up and like banged it out. But it was fun. And I might post it somewhere. If I do, I'll let you guys know. But I don't know, man. It's like, I'd have to edit it first though. And that's the problem, meaning that I'd have to read it. And if I read it, I'm not going to want to post it because I read it and it's going to be like too cringy for me to post. It's pretty cringy. I'm like, dude. But I forgot that I did that. I made those email addresses so that I could email. I literally emailed each other. Like, I made 2 fake or however many fake email accounts so they could email each other. So I could have the screenshots of the back and forth email correspondence. And like when I have time and energy on my hands, it's it's dangerous. I'm like, man. But I used to do stuff like that all the time. I'd be like really into these little projects, and like I wouldn't not be online, you know, but I would be doing stuff. And I'd be home just like doing that, you know. I didn't really watch TV much. I would just be doing that kind of stuff. I did watch like series and movies and stuff like that, but like I think shows I used to like, The OC, I think I used to watch Seventh Heaven, I don't know, like The Sopranos, 6 Feet Under. Those are shows I still rewatch on probably like once a year. I rewatch those. So yeah, I used to rewatch that stuff. I used to watch that stuff. I don't know what else I used to watch, but um yeah, that was some of the stuff I used to watch, and I have fun with it. Um I don't know. I used to watch sports, I think. Uh, I'm pretty sure I used to watch sports. I just don't know how much. I feel like I played sports far more than I watched them though. And then I don't know what else I used to do. Study? I mean, I used to study a lot. Yeah, play guitar, write songs, record them on like cassette tapes, make songs with my friends, practice covers, practice songs that other friends were practicing, and we'd get together and like jam, and we'd kind of screw around a lot. We had a fun time. We had fun. Like, I don't know, like, I don't know, it was fun. But I did kind of realize, and it took me till kind of more recently, like probably sometime in 2024. I don't think I realized this even in 2023. But in 2024, I know I definitely realized, I was like, oh, like I need to kind of get offline more and get back into some of my old interests, because you know, it's hard just like binge watching stuff online. It just isn't that interesting to me anymore. Because I have the time to do it. I just don't want to spend the energy doing it. It's like I'd rather, like, I could have created so much stuff while I was watching all of the other stuff. And so just trying to be more creative, more artistic. It's just hard to settle back into it, because I'm like, I don't think I've ever really created a lot of stuff with the purpose of sharing it. That's something that's newer for me in like recent years, like since I started podcasting and all that other kind of stuff. Like, usually I would just learn stuff for myself. I was never learning songs, so I was like, oh, like, I gotta learn all these cool songs by Metallica, because if I ever get at a bonfire and somebody asks me to play, I want to be ready to like rock out and like prove that I can play these difficult songs. Like, I just liked the way they sounded, and it was fun to play. And I've always been like shy at like playing instruments in front of people. I don't really like doing it. It's more for myself. But I do like playing with a band. I'm the same with like karaoke. I like singing with other people. I'm not really there to like show off my talents. Like, I think I can be talented, but I'm so self-conscious that I'm less talented when I'm solo, because I just don't really want to. It's too much attention. I don't like that much attention on myself. It's not something that I like. I like attention in a different way, not necessarily like in a way where there's going to be like somebody saying like, oh, you're good enough, or you're bad at this, or somebody's able to judge something. I do remember writing this other story once where I let this one guy read it. Oh man, I regretted that. It might have been the same story. I don't remember now. I'm thinking about it. I don't remember. But he was a writer, not really, but kind of. And he came into my life through church. He was one of those people that was like a mentor, because he was like a little bit older than a lot of us, but not that much older. So he wasn't like a leadership kind of mentor. He was kind of like a little bit out of my cohort of age range of like people that I interacted with. Like, I don't know, but I always had like a kind of diverse age range group of people that I would hang out with. But yeah, he was kind of older. Not older though. Like, I don't know. I want to say I was like 25 and he was maybe 30. It was like that. Like, it wasn't like he was that much older. But I remember this guy would come around, and he was talented. He'd play guitar. He was a runner, and he would write. And I was trying to do this project at church. I still remember it was called like the Light Guide Journal or something like that. And I thought people would be into it, and I was trying to get people to like write for it or something, because back then I had been blogging, and one of my friends was like, oh, your blog is like awesome. And she sent it to the pastor or whatever, and he read it, and he was like, yeah, it's really good stuff. But it was like more like introspective, like psychological analytical stuff. It wasn't like really like gay. Like it was nothing like that. It was appropriate for like pastors to be reading it, but it was like pretty like deep. And then, because when I started out blogging, that's kind of when I started writing on Blogger or Blogspot or whatever it used to be called. And then he, that turned into them saying like, oh, like you should see if you want to do something for church or something. And I was kind of like, okay, I didn't really know what that looked like. Mostly what I would do was I'd make a PowerPoint single slide that I used as like a flyer for like our Vespers group, because I'd play guitar with some other people for that, and we usually have a speaker, and it was like very free flowing. It wasn't like pastor speaking. It was like random people that went to church. We'd invite them to come and like speak about whatever they wanted. Like people would give like a testimony about their life, about something they went through that they overcame or something. And we kind of usually just like play a couple songs, sing together, pray, do that. And then, so I did the Facebook post invites for that on the church website. And I was supposed to be doing this other journal that I thought I was doing. I made this whole like cover art for it and everything. But I couldn't really get anybody to like do it, because I didn't know what I wanted people to do. I'm like, would you want to write stories? Like, I thought people would want to do it, but it turns out I'm the nerd. Nobody wants to freaking write stories or poetry and all. Like, people aren't into that kind of stuff, really. Not like on a large scale. I was like, barking up the wrong tree with that. But I thought people would be into it, but I went around and asked everybody who was there, and they weren't interested, so I couldn't get anyone to sign up. So I remember I had this guy, who I'm talking about, the mentor-ish kind of guy. I guess he was like, I don't know. I say mentor. I looked up to him in a way. He didn't like totally wrong me. I'm not like calling him out, being like, oh, this guy was a jerk. It wasn't like that. Like there were some things about his personality that I was like not too into. I think the main thing that sticks out was that he was like incredibly gossipy, but in like a very like sharp kind of way, where it's like he would say things that were like not just the normal kind of like, oh, he said, she said, but he'd like cut deep with stuff, like not against me, but just like other people. He'd go in on like the dirt, and so I kind of was like, ooh, like I didn't really respect that, but the other stuff about him I kind of did. He was really smart. There was just a lot, I don't know, I can see like that people have good and bad. Like I'm not gonna be like, oh, just because you have like some bad points to you, I don't really want to be around, like, but that was just one of those things I kind of overlooked at that time, about him. But that was the only thing I could think of that I was like, that part of him I could do without. But I mean, otherwise, I really liked talking to him, and like he was very intellectual and creative, but he was like from outside the fold. Like he wasn't someone who I was raised around or who knew anyone I was raised around. He came into the church through some other, like, because there's like kind of racial groups, like Filipino groups, Spanish speaking groups, black groups, white groups, multicultural groups. There's all kind of groups. So he came in through one of the Asian race groups. It was just fine. I mean, it's like, whatever. There were all kinds of races and everything, and ethnicities. But he came in through a group that I didn't really know, through like an elder of an Asian community in that religion. He came in, like they told him that, oh, there's this group that meets, so go to that church and meet with them. Like you can kind of interact. And I guess he moved to town or started interacting at some of those people would meet in homes. Like, if you had a home where you could welcome people in, you could just decide who you wanted to invite over. And it could be like a church related kind of interactive thing. You could have like a potluck and watch like a lighthearted movie or something, and like just like chill and have sodas or whatever. And like, so he met through one of those kind of things. He would go to like a certain family, a certain Asian family that he was like connected him with the group of people that I usually hung out with, because there were some other Asian people that went to that group, so they knew him through that. And then he started coming to church, but he was a little older than the rest of us, and so, you know, and once I got to know him, I kind of considered him a mentor, because he was kind of like at a level where I was like professionally and like everything, I was like, I kind of looked up to kind of the way he was with like his lifestyle and stuff, and like especially because he was like a runner and like in nursing and studied a lot and kind of knew the ropes with like health related fields and stuff, like, and he was doing it and successful and independent and all that kind of stuff. So I was kind of like, in a way, I kind of looked up to him, because a lot of the people I knew were not doing that. A lot of the people I knew were in my stage, either like in grad school, trying to get into grad school, in college, living with their parents. Like everybody was kind of in that phase that I knew. He was the only person I knew that was kind of like independently like living his best life, you know. And so I was kind of like, wow, like somebody I finally interact with is like doing that, and they're not like a pastor, you know what I mean? And so it was kind of cool to like hang out with him, and I let him read one of my stories that I wrote, and he kind of ripped it to shreds, not physically, but verbally. I don't remember exactly what he said, but I was like, from that point, I was like, I don't know if I really want people reading what I write. But I did take it as it was just his opinion. I didn't really see it the way he did. I don't know if I let other people read it. I think I just let him read it. And then, but I guess when I was trying to do that journal thing for the church, he actually took it and ran with it, and did his own idea where he interviewed people. I think he took an audio recording of them, and I heard about Medium through him. He took an audio recording, or maybe wrote notes, but I think he took an audio recording of people, and he'd ask them a question like I think it would be like deep questions, kind of. So I think he asked me a question, I think because he knew a lot of people at this time, and I think he asked the question like he would ask people questions based on stuff he doesn't know about them. And I don't know for sure if this is how he worded it, or so I don't remember for sure if he worded it like I'm asking everybody this question, and so could you answer this question, and or if you said, I don't really know a lot about this part of your life because you never really talk about it much, so I'd like you to answer this question if you're comfortable, kind of thing. And it was basically a question. It was like, talk about a time when you I don't know if it was like when you had fun with your father, or with your father or father figure, but I think like with your father, because I didn't really talk about my family much, or like my parents in particular. And a lot of people who know me, they know that I've got both my parents living, thank God. They're still alive and well, but a lot of people may meet my mom on occasion. Most people don't meet my dad because he's rarely in LA. And when he is in LA, he might just stay home. And so, and if he does go out, it's like church. And so like, and he like runs errands and things too, and like visits a couple people. But other than that, I don't really know what else he does. I don't think he really does too much to my knowledge when he's in LA. And he's only really around for like a couple days, maybe a couple weeks at a time. Maybe like once or twice a year he's around for like a week or two. And then maybe once every other year, once every third year. So he's kind of like getting a different job placement. And so he'll be at the house for like a month or two between jobs. But otherwise, unless it's like a birthday or like a major holiday, He's not usually in town. He works out of state. When he's not out of state, I mean, California's a giant state. He's worked in Sacramento. He's worked in San Jose. He's worked in Redding. He's worked very briefly in Escondido. And in, I think he worked near like Chico State. Um, but yeah, he's often working out of state. Pennsylvania, DC, wherever the heck, you know. He just kind of works wherever. He's been doing that since like 2003 or so. And so I'm used to him just like not being at the house. And so a lot of times I don't really talk about him much unless he's in town, and I'm like telling my friends like, "Oh my god, my dad's in town." You know, like, cuz usually I'm annoyed, not at him, yes, at him. Not at, I don't know, just I don't know. He's not the easiest person to be around. He's nice to people I know. Unless they're family members, he kind of has a difficult time being kind of nice to his family members. But he's not, he means well. He's not a bad guy. But I don't know. It just depends. Like, we don't really interact much. We don't talk much. Not really. I talk to him when he's in town, and like I described, it's like not that much. And when we are talking, it's usually over dinner or like supper on Saturdays after he gets home from church, or later in the afternoons. And like I said, my parents are often on their phones, and so we're really not interacting that much. And so it's kind of like, yeah, like I don't know. But I think what I said to this guy was, I liked back when, so after the 1994 World Cup soccer, we did go to a lot of games at the Rose Bowl. And then after that, I don't remember what year, Major League Soccer was born in the United States, and LA had the team called Galaxy with like Kobe Jones and like all these other players. I don't know if Jorge Campos was originally on Galaxy back in the olden days. I don't remember who. I remember Alexi Lalas and like there were quite a few like major stars that played in MLS, but you know, sports, people get old and they retire. But it's been around since like the mid 90s. And he was there in the mid 90s. You know, he got season tickets to the first season. And I remember we went to every game at the Rose Bowl. And I think there was going to be one or two that we were going to have to miss because, like, my dad had to go to work or had to go out of town. And so he made sure that one of my friends' dads, because he was always taking us, but one of my friends' dads took us, like, once or twice to the games that my dad couldn't make it to, just so we could say that we went to all the first season of the LA Galaxy games. And it was fun. I mean, we would get there early, tailgate. We'd always have like watermelons and sodas and stuff. And like, we'd play pickup games. He would bring like cones and extra soccer balls, and we'd do like drills and stuff. We'd get there like hours early, like when they were still trying to park all the cars and stuff before all the cars were parked. And we'd play like in between the cars. And there was like grass where we parked. And like, so we would have grass to play on. And we play on the grass, and we'd just play pickup games. And he'd kind of referee a little bit, but it was like, not fully. And then we'd stay till later, and we'd play after as well. We'd play after the Galaxy games. We'd play soccer as well. And I don't know how often we were there. Maybe every weekend, every other weekend. I can't remember. This was so long ago. But I felt like it was often. And it was stuff like that I was like, like Saturdays. I don't know if it was Saturdays or Sundays that we would go. But Saturdays were kind of the day that my mom would like have her day to herself after church. She would kind of just, do her own thing. And then my dad would usually take us to the mall or take us somewhere with friends or whatever. But he wasn't like easy to like go do stuff with, like he was kind of like, he wasn't like my mom. Like my mom's pretty easygoing. He was kind of like, you kind of just don't talk to him, but just go do the thing, and it's fun. Like, and like I said, my brother and me are like 2 years apart, so like at the very least, it would be just me and my brother, and we'd always have fun together because we're so close in age, and we've always gotten along. We didn't really fight. Like when we were young kids, we maybe fought, but we just don't fight. Like it's not really. We would get in trouble for fighting, so we just didn't fight. We learned to kind of just get along, and learn that everyone has their own opinions. Just because you don't see the world the same as I do on certain things doesn't mean we have to like argue about it now. It's like, you think that, I think this, okay, that's the end of the discussion. Like we don't need to keep discussing it. Like we kind of grew up that way together, so it's kind of like, we're still pretty close. But yeah, I would say yeah, I don't know. There was something about that experience with that guy that was, I don't know. Like it kind of, cuz I can't remember if I was in grad school yet. I wasn't, cuz I think there was a time where I was trying to get into Cal State LA for grad school. So I think I knew him while I was in grad school, and I knew him maybe like before I was in grad school, and then also like after. Like there were like quite some years in there that I knew him. And I remember cuz I would write a lot, I was in the field of psychology. Like if all you do is write, and I was in the research end of things. I wasn't doing clinical. Back then I was purely just experimental research. Like that's all I did was like cognitive science research, hearing sciences research, auditory perception research, like cultural kind of stuff. And it was just all research. So it was like collecting data, designing experiments, doing them for projects. I can't tell you how many freaking experiments I did. Even short ones or pilot ones, and the thesis and all, there was a lot of data running around and a lot of writing and reading. And I did that for years and years and years and years. Like even before grad school, to get into grad school, you're doing this. At UCI I did that. I did a whole lot of, like, for my bachelor's, it was just like, all you do is like read and write and read and write and write and write and write. And like, at minimum, if you're sending like a basic kind of paper in to your professor, it would be like 7 to 10 pages. That was like a basic paper. Like most of my papers in grad school were like 30 pages or something, like, and I was churning these things out like for multiple classes. I don't remember how often, but multiple classes. Like if you weren't writing 20 pages, you probably weren't going to get a very good grade, because it wasn't really considered thorough. And so usually I would be writing like these 30-page papers and just banging them out. And I thought I was like decent at it. Like I did very well on the papers. I was never very good with the exams, but like research writing for me, I like that it's very like methodic and very like predictable. And so you can kind of tell when you're like veering off topic, and it's like, oh, like I need to reel myself back in because this is what I'm talking about now. Unlike podcasting where I'm just, God only knows what I'm saying half the time. But yeah, I might go more into some of these topics in detail because I have time tonight, and I'll see how much energy I have for it. But I'm kind of just rambling. But that was kind of, something that kind of took me out of the creative writing space, was having this guy kind of like not very supportive of my story. I guess the story I don't remember what it was. It's just so long ago now. But basically, I just remember it was bouncing between ideas because it was supposed to be that way because the character was very like unable to like focus. And so it was like this person's ideas, I think they were like the main character, but they were like also thinking about this other character. So it was those two, like the main character, and then that character thinking about this other character, and then the other character kind of had the same issues. They were kind of like thinking about it, like they would talk to each other and then like think about that, or like describe their experiences with one another. But there was a lot of back and forth between that, and that's how I wanted it to be, because I wanted it to be like, dude, these guys need to like slow the f down, you know, like. But yeah, he was kind of like, yeah, it's too like back and forth, and like I'm like, yeah, it's supposed to be that way. Like the whole reason I wanted to write it, though, like sometimes I get in my head creatively when I'm writing something, and I'm like, I want to write something with this intention, and I will write a whole storyline around it. So it's like when I want to capture like a certain personality type, there's a whole personality that's developed of a certain character or multiple characters. They have like a full on like personality and like aspect and like viewpoint on life, and a way of speaking and a way of like saying things and doing things. And it's usually very unique. Like the characters are usually unique. You know, like you can tell one character from another in the stories I write. And they're very particular in the way that they act and react to things based on kind of like the persona that they're trying to portray, or that I'm trying to have them portray. Like it's very detailed, but I think it's kind of like, in a way, it's like I'm usually writing in the character's voice. I'm not writing in my voice. I'm not like me describing what these people are doing and using this one way of explaining it or expressing it. It's like they're explaining and expressing themselves in their own unique ways. That's how I write things. And so, not always, but sometimes that's how I like to write things. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's confusing for the reader, but I don't really care, because it's my story, and I don't really care if anybody else doesn't really appreciate that. But I like complexities, and I think humans are complex. I like my characters to be complex. I don't like them to be very surfacey. So I don't know. I'm saying all this because I'm kind of playing with the idea of releasing some story content. I just don't know on what level, and I don't want it to be, I don't know. I've got storylines and, you know, drafts and things I've written that are, some of them are just so just like fun and rated G, and some of them are like like this is gonna get me banned somewhere. So I don't know. It's like X-rated stuff, and so that stuff I might need to find a place to post it, where if people, there might be a paywall set up with that kind of situation, and people can purchase it if they want to read that. You know, they're gonna have to pay for those stories, because I'm not releasing that for free. But the other ones I might play with, you know, posting some free stuff. I'm playing with the idea of it. It sounds like it's gonna slow things down so much. And that's kind of why I say, like, when I say I don't really like editing podcasts, and I don't really like writing a script for it or too many notes, because I like to write. And so it's like, well, if I'm going to write notes for something, I'd rather just write a paper than write notes for what I'm going to podcast. I'd rather just write a full paper and not record an audio podcast and post a paper on a topic. But that sounds a little, that's initially when I first started this podcast. If you see the early YouTube videos that like I stopped posting because my mother was on there and she was liking them, and I was like, oh no. And so I stopped because of her, and then I blocked her, and I don't know, she could probably still see it, but I kind of freaked out a little bit, because I was like, I don't want my mom involved, and I also don't want, I mean, there was a pastor friend that kind of found my Instagram and I think tried to add me, and I was like, oh no. Like, but it's kind of like, it's not so much, okay, yeah, I don't want my mother in there reading stuff or listening to any of it ever. But if it's like a pastor friend, this specific person I wouldn't mind. It's just because of the network that they're attached to, I don't want everybody else finding it. So that's why I didn't really want this person involved. It had nothing to do with like them. It was more so, oh shoot, all the people attached to them that I do not really talk to, or that I don't really want to engage with, or who I don't really want involved in certain areas of my life in any way, shape, or form, that I like a distance from, might be attached to him because pastors know people, and they're very social and interactive, and I appreciate that, but I don't want that. I don't want the church involved. I'm pretty sure there's enough of them, and you know who you are. Hello. But I mean, I don't really want, I'm not posting this for them. Not necessarily. I mean, if there are people that are tuned in, I would hope that they're reading it because they're listening because they appreciate it, and they're not listening because they're like, oh, here she goes posting again. I mean, I haven't heard a lot of feedback from them about it, and also I don't think people who listen would from that culture of people. I don't think people in that culture, for the most part, the ones that I know, they're pretty reserved, and they probably wouldn't be likely to be like, oh, I know you have this gay podcast and I've been listening to it for like years. I don't think they'd really be open to talking about it, and I'm really not open to talking to them about it. So I think we're kind of on the same page. Like, if you're gonna, like, I remember I was watching, this will be the last thing I say, and then I'll see if I'm gonna break down these topics because this is too freaking long. Did I just forget what I was gonna say? Oh yeah, no. I was watching these interviews. Helix Studios has their, I guess you call them adult entertainer models. I don't know what the term is, but you know what that means. You know what that means. So basically, I think one of them, they're asking like, do your friends watch your videos? And they were like, or your family, does your friends or family watch your videos? And they're like, no. One of them was like, no. And then the other, I think someone else was like, if they did, you know, they're probably not going to tell me. It's like, that's a good point. Because if you're like a gay porn star and somebody's like watching your videos and they know you, they're probably not going to be like, oh, I've been watching your videos. One guy was saying I think his friends or somebody would be like, "Oh, I see you're doing very well at work," you know, and stuff like that. But it's like, I don't know. There's certain people, I don't know, when it comes to sexuality and things like that, most people aren't really trying to like talk too openly about it, and when they are, I don't know, like, it's a complicated thing in our culture. And I don't really know a lot of people who like really openly want to like be discussing those types of topics. In my church related social groups, the people that I hang out with that I know through church related things, I don't know a lot of them who are really interested in openly discussing gay sex. Like, it's just not something that comes up often with everybody. I mean, there are certain people that I'm friends with that we're close and we talk about stuff, but I'm not saying it's not like a lot of people. I know a lot of people. Like I said, I grew up talking to a lot of people. I don't like know them actively like now, all of them, but the ones that I did talk to, or the ones I still am in touch with, I don't really think they, really want to talk about it too much. And I don't really know if I want to talk about it with them directly. I don't know if I mind. It's not like a big deal. It kind of just depends. I try to keep open-minded people around me, but I also try not to be so closed off just because somebody thinks or believes differently. I don't want to like completely not talk to people just because we aren't the same. Like I'm not into that either. But yeah, so we made it to over 90 minutes. Most of this was just me talking about what I'm thinking. I don't really know if it's the caffeine talking or I have been wanting to have like a shift with this podcast. I just don't know where I want it to go. And I see kind of where the mainstream is going, but I'm not really that person. And there's nothing wrong with those people who are that way, but I'd rather just write and read and do my nerdy things. And that's kind of what I like to do. Like I can't see myself wanting to like collaborate or get into some kind of like like the mainstream way of like this talk show kind of vibes and all these panels and all that. I mean, maybe on occasion once in a while it would be cool, but I don't know that many people in my life that are too dedicated to wanting to engage, and I wouldn't want to bring my friends or family into these topics, and I also don't want to meet brand new people or try to coordinate schedules and stuff. I mean, LA is tiring, you guys. Like, I met someone who who knows someone. I'll keep it at that. I met someone who knows someone that I know. I don't want to be very detailed with that, but basically I met someone who knows somebody in common, and they were saying that they met online, and initially they were like, I don't know if I want to even like keep talking to this person because of in LA when you're dating online or like meeting people online, it's like where you live matters. Nobody wants to drive 90 minutes for a coffee date and pay $25 parking. Nobody wants to like do that like after work. Like you just want to chill, you know and you want the ease of things. You don't want to be like stuck in traffic whenever you're trying to do something, or God forbid you're waiting for someone else stuck in traffic and you have like a dinner reservation and you're starving and the restaurant's going to close and they're still on their way because they left too late from the valley or something, and you're meeting in like Long Beach, and it's like, oh my goodness, like, I mean, it's not impossible to date people, but it's not easy. It's like, dude, you gotta like travel out here. It's like you're taking like a weekend trip just to like meet people. And so this person was making a comment that they, you know, when they were first talking to this other person I know, that they didn't really want to talk. They didn't know if they were gonna opt in and like keep in touch because of how it is in LA. Because it's like when you meet people and they're like, oh, you live too far, sorry, that's like the end of the conversation. Unless it's like someone who's so interested in driving to see you all the time and making your life a lot easier, and that's not very even. But I mean, unless it's a situation like that, I just can't see myself really wanting to engage on that level. But I do have some friends that want to engage in some other research projects and stuff, but I really don't know. I really don't want to like write manuscripts with people. Like, I do want to. There's a part of me that's like, I would love to do that. That's all I want to do. Like, if like, I don't know, man. That sounds like so much fun, and that just shows like how much of a nerd I'm in, because I do have a friend that's kind of proposed some ideas that I'm like, dude, I love this person's research and I would totally love to kind of like dabble with them on some projects with some manuscript writing, and I'm like, dude, I would totally like to do like lit reviews together. That is like music to my ears. Um, oh man, but I really don't feel like it's so like I don't know, man. It's so on a professional level. I don't really want to do it as just like a geeky friend project. I would love it, but I feel like it would get too professional, and we'd try to get like grant funding and like as much as much as that sounds fun. I don't really want to like dabble in things with friends like that, just because business and friends and all that. I'm like really trying not to like do that because it's I don't know. I really don't want to get into any sticky situations, especially with this person. I really don't want any kind of like tension between us. We've for years, for over a decade now, we've had a very good relationship, and I would hate for some stupid thing to kind of like get in the way of that. Like I have some friends that I've known for so long at this point that it's like I just don't even do things that would be a risk to that friendship in any way. And this person's solid. I don't think it would even get to that point because we kind of have a good communication and everything. But it's just I don't know. I just don't want to. I just think we'll stick to if we want to have like a jam session, and we'll just keep it easy and play music together and stuff like that. I think that's where we'll keep things, and I don't think we're gonna dabble in anything professional, but we'll see. I'd do it if it was just like for giggles, just to kind of get some of that geeky energy out of me. But I mean, it's a commitment, and I wouldn't want to back out. And I'm kind of backing out of a lot of things right now, so I kind of don't really want to like take on. My energy does not need to be there. Maybe it does. Maybe I do need to put my energy into something like that, but I don't really know. Okay, this is long enough. It's almost 2 hours. I'm gonna post it as is. I don't really have any solid timestamps. I'm just gonna have the beginning ones, and then because the beginning is just complete dribble. But I mean, I'll keep on some of these topics for a little bit and see kind of where I go with it. I'll try to break it down into more details because I was very, 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 very vague with some of it. But there are topics in here that I do want to kind of discuss. So, all right, guys. I'm going to stop talking on this episode now. And we'll see where we go from here during this weekend. Thanks for listening.